tough because this is the business with which I'm concerned, and this is the craft by which I make my living. In today's discussion, I'll be talking about William Wordsworth's The Solitary Reaper, which was published in the Lyrical Ballads in 1798, volume with Coleridge and Wordsworth published in collaboration with one another. This poem is a remarkable short piece of William Wordsworth which subscribes to the beliefs he holds about nature and about poetry, and about the style and manner and language of poetry, and about the definition of the poet. For this reason, it's a really wonderful piece from William Wordsworth, and I like among the few poems which Wordsworth has written, and I like, although he has written enough works, including bulky volumes like that of the Excursion and the Prelude, and even Tenton Abbey, which is also voluminous in a sense, but still I like it because of the philosophy that has been presented therein, or ultimate relation with our surrounding. This poem is give a witness from this image that there is a lonely girl and she is cutting crop, most probably rice or wheat, and she is holding the crop in her left hand and the sickle or scythe in her right hand. She is busy cutting the crop, and in the background you can see that there are trees, a small forest is there, and there are mountains and clouds, and so you see that in this very image that has been developed, keeping in mind the lines written by William Wordsworth, that something which we consider to be natural, not man-made, has been foregrounded instead of bringing in the artificial things produced by industries and factories. And this is one of the reasons that William Wordsworth was against the industrial revolution, that the natural world in the countryside would get disturbed, and it happened later on, and now we have entered an era where we are trying to return to nature in the original sense because of the numerous pollutions as humans we have caused to environment, and we are compelled to return to nature in the sense to restore for ourselves. And keeping in mind this coronavirus lockdown, you might come across certain statements that this lockdown throughout the world has been a punishment incurred upon human beings by nature, or you may call by environment, and that we are supposed to believe. I never witnessed ozone layer myself, but as a believer in the prophecies of science, I must believe that ozone layer has been restored because of the reduced amount of emission of poisonous gases into the air, and similarly that marine life might have taken a breath of peace, when they have come to know that human beings have been locked within the four walls of their rooms and their houses and their cells. So they might be celebrating this thing that human beings have been punished for the merciless and cruel treatment of nature. So my point in this discussion is to show you that how William Wordsworth has foregrounded nature over artificiality. Uh, I'll go through a reading of the poem, and after reading it, I'll have a summary and explanation of it. But first, and one thing more I'd like to tell you is that you might come across readings other than I do, and every individual has got his own style of reading poetry and reciting verses. So I have my own style. It's not necessary that I follow some popular strain of musicality or things like that. So let me let me do my reading of the poem. The Solitary Reaper. Behold her single in the field yon, solitary highland lass, reaping and singing by herself. Stop here, I gently pass. Alone she cuts and bends the grain and sings a melancholy strain. Oh, listen, for the vale profound is overflowing with the sound. No nightingale did ever chant more welcome notes to weary bands of travellers in some shady haunt among Arabian sands. A voice so thrilling never was heard in springtime from the cuckoo bird, breaking the silence of the seas among the farthest Hebrides. Will no one tell me what she sings? Perhaps the plaintive numbers flow for old unhappy far off things and battles long ago. Or is it some more humble lay, familiar matter of today, some natural sorrow, loss and pain that has been and may be again? Whatever the theme, the maiden sang as if her song could have no ending. I saw her singing at her work, and o'er the sickle bending, I listened motionless and still, and as I mounted up the hill, the music in my heart I bore long after it was heard no more. As explained earlier, this is my reading of it. You might read it better yourselves, and you might come across another reading which is more fascinating. Even if I use this comparative degree, I am claiming some sort of fascination for myself, but at least as a poetry reader, I have some sort of taste for reading poetry, and that's there before you in this reading. Now, let's talk about the poem in general. In this poem, just imagine. It might be it's referential that really this thing happened to William Wordsworth in his real life, and it's not imaginative at all, and really it took place that William Wordsworth was moving towards the top of the hill, and on the way he visited, he witnessed a lonely girl who was busy harvesting the crop, and at the same time she was singing to herself. So you might consider it referential, that really it happened, and on the other hand you might consider it as fictional. It's possible that it may be fictional and thoroughly imaginative, but it is also possible that it is referential and it really happened to William Wordsworth. So what was important, two things were important. Loneliness, as Nietzsche should say, whoever is delighted in solitude is either god or wild beast. Because human beings, as personally I have experienced it, two things are very much difficult for human beings in life. One is loneliness, really difficult. Like why prison life is really difficult. It is because, and specifically those criminals who are the most wanted by any government, they are kept in lonely cells so that they do not have people to talk to. It's really terrible to be lonely. So this is one kind of problem and pain for the girl who is lonely. The second thing is that she is physically walking and she is physically struggling. Uh, but look at the way how in her loneliness she is consoling herself. But the most important thing is the song which comes from the solitary reaper, and William Wordsworth compares it with the song of nightingale who used to console the travelers on the way in the deserts, and similarly the cuckoo bird song in spring in the early morning. He compared it to them that the song of this girl was sweeter than the song of either a nightingale or that of a cuckoo bird in the spring season. But then what was the content of the song? That is important. The content of the song, we are told that perhaps some painful verses were coming out of the mouth of the girl, and it was about some old unhappy and things in the past, or on the other land, some relatives, or might be some battles of long ago, the family community battle or the religious battle she was singing of. It is custom with us that whenever the crusades, people are talking about crusades in any whether it is in the Christian community or in the Muslim communities, they both have a specific rhetoric in order to appeal to the affective side of human beings. So using that as well, it's a familiar matter of today. The daily life might be, and then that natural sorrow in the form of ailments or the loss of a relative or the death of parents or any other pain that might be the tiredness that she is undergoing, working from dawn to dusk and having little to eat and not enough to dress well, not enough to take rest. So then finally he says that I'm not concerned with the content, and that whatever she's saying, but it seemed as if it is endless, and that while she was working and she was bending on the her sickles, she was bending, and she continued saying, and Wordsworth himself for a while stood silent and motionless, and then after listening for a while he went up the hill, and he says that the song had impressed upon his mind so strongly that even when physically it was not audible, he could hear it through the ears of imagination or the ears of mind. So that is in the poem. What I have talked of, I need not elaborate anything, but I'll go through a quick explanation of the poem. Behold her single in the field. It's very much clear that seeing her, behold here means seeing her, and I'll add to your vocabulary by using that when we use this specific proverb from English people, from the English community, who say that beauty lies in the beholder's eyes. So it means that the person who is seeing, beauty is in the eyes of the seer. So that's a beholder single in the field. Yon mean young, solitary, lonely, highland belonging to upper living or in the upper part of the mountain, upper part of the valley. Las, I pronounce it las because of this rhyme scheme with pass. Otherwise generally it is pronounced as lace, which is from Latin and it means girl. Reaping, cutting and singing by herself mean lonely. In both the cases she was lonely. She was reaping in loneliness, and at the same time she was singing in loneliness. And then there is the confusion with William Wordsworth. Stop here or gently pass. It's now he is talking to himself whether he should stop and listen to the song of the girl or gently pass and do not disturb her. Alone she cuts and bends the grain. That's what she is physically doing. Oh, listen for the wail profound. Then he talks to himself and to readers. He says, oh reader, oh Wordsworth, listen. Why? For is here in the meaning of because the valley, the deep valley, the veil profound, the deep valley is overflowing with the sound. Means the entire valley, the deep valley has been enticed and fascinated by this song of this lonely girl. And in this case, if you ignore it, so you might have some problem with you. And what kind of song it is? Is it? No nightingale did ever chant. No nightingale could ever sing such a song. More welcome notes to weary winds. Notes in song very tired bands, the caravan or the comrade of travelers in some shady haunt. Shady haunt, you might be traveling today and you will be told of a number of restaurants and resort places where you need to take rest or take your breakfast or lunch or brunch or dinner. So similarly, in the past there used to be groves of flocks of trees. There could be rest places, and they could be secure and safe, as well as water etc. were available, necessities were available there. And at which places among Arabian sands in the deserts of Arab countries there used to be sparsely any green and watery places. So they used to be shady haunt because the memories of those places used to be with people for longer time. And in the desert we cannot find a nightingale. We can find nightingale in the places where we have a number of trees where they can nest and they can have insects for their food and they can have water for drink. So definitely those places, right from the beginning of the journey, from the beginning of the travel, the memory of those places used to haunt them as the travelers were told about them. A voice so thrilling never was heard in springtime from the even this song of the girl was superior in its fascination and its sweetness and loudiness to the cuckoo bird song which sings in the spring season. And what was it doing? Breaking the silence of the seas among the farthest Hebrides. It's an explanation of the cuckoo bird song which used to break the silence of the seas and farthest Hebrides. Hebrides generally refers to any coast where there is an oasis, but specifically it refers to the Scottish coastline where there are oases. And the cuckoo bird appears early in the morning and breaks the silence of the sea. So, like, is if a cuckoo bird adds charms to the silence in the Hebrides and breaks the silence of the seas. Similarly, in this profound valley and in this complete silence in the valley, the song of the girl is welcoming, is really welcoming. And it's not disturbing, rather it's welcoming. Will no one tell me what she sings, the content of the song? William Wordsworth is now interested in knowing the content of the song. And that's why there's a question mark. And then there is a dash, which means that he is leaving certain information and directly relying on his guess about the song. He says, plaintive numbers flow. Some complaining verses were coming out. And what were about the old, unhappy, far off things? Far off here can be used in two ways. Far away, physically distant, but in another, it might belong to something of past, means a few years back, a few decades back, or a century or 2 century back, and battles long ago, and it's again referring to the past. Even if she had a family lineage whose members died in some crusade, might be she was singing of that, as we usually do have in the context of some continent. The Hindus, they talk of their forefathers, how they suffered in the 1857 War of Independence, and even if they are Muslims, they talk of their forefathers, so, and battles long ago. Or is it some more humble? Might be it is a trivial song. It is lowly in terms of that is not proud and arrogant. That is not arrogant and proud song. Rather, it is a humble song, familiar matter of today, and it is related to something of the day-to-day life of the present of the girl, some natural sorrow in the form of ailments, or in the form of hunger or thirst, or heat, or hot weather, and things like that. So natural sorrow, loss, the death of someone, or pain in any other case, some that has been, and maybe again, which means that it's not only that it had once happened, but the problem is that there is a fear of the recurrence of that thing again, which is more problematic than just the previous experience of the pain or loss or sorrow. Whatever the theme the madam saying, as if her song could have no ending. This is really important and striking to notice that William Wordsworth, in the prelude, he says that he talks in his poetry, he talks of nature, name, and life, the three things he focused. When it comes to Maine, he focused rural Maine, the countryside life, and there we find this thing that the troubles and the sorrows and the pains of the people living in the rural side, in the countryside, they are never ending. And that's why in Downton Abbey he has used this phrase, this wonderful phrase, to listen to the still sad music of humanity. Still sad music of humanity. Still sad music of humanity, that its human being is taken from one pain to the other, and this is what his life goes on. That from the very birth, or rather we may say from the consciousness onward till the death, or from becoming till the point when human being becomes unconscious make, till that point he is thrown from one misery to another. This is the life of human being. The music in I listened motionless and still. I didn't make, and the importance here is in this notion that Wordsworth was that much careful that he would have desired to appreciate the girl or console her, but despite that, because he didn't like to disturb her, to intervene in her joy, he didn't like this thing, so he stood still and listened, and then mounted up the hill. It was his destination. The music in my heart I bore, long after it was heard no more. So even that moment was gone. That moment was gone, but the effect of the moment was not gone. So here, in this line, William Wordsworth subscribes to his four stages of poetic creation. The first is observation, the second is meditation, the third is recollection, and the fourth is spontaneous overflow, and he subscribes to this thing. A few other important things I would like to talk about, that William Wordsworth generally did not like to write in rhyme scheme, but in this poem we have a rhyme scheme, although it's not regular because it is changing. We have A, B, C, and then again B, A, B, C, B, and then again, so the rhyme scheme is changing. But William Wordsworth was of the opinion that meter is important for poetry, or essential for poetry, but that rhyme scheme is not, and that's why in Biographia Literaria, Samuel Taylor Coleridge sarcastically used this term super added. Rhyme scheme may be super added or superfluously added, this phrase he used. It was just a kind of satire on William Wordsworth's notion of this thing, and he has written this word of this phrase in capital, and I will point out that it is something very important from this with respect to William Wordsworth. So it's similar in tone with the daffodils as well, because there in the daffodils also you see this thing that it is later on. First he visits the flowers, the daffodils, and then later on he is laying on his couch, and he thinks and he remembers and he writes it also. Similarly, might be that to make this present joy of future song, something like that. So he does this thing. Thank you very much. Very easy.